Good evening, race fans, or indeed good morning, wherever you're watching us from around the world today. Welcome to Simple Racing Broadcasts for Round 5 of the Alliance Sim Racing Gard Supercar Championship. This marks the halfway point of this 10-round season, and at this point there's really nowhere to hide for our drivers. The championship is really starting to take shape. The pressure is building on all of our drivers as they fight for the most points they can possibly manage each and every week. And from here on out, every round is going to have some pretty serious consequences for that championship battle. Tonight, of course, we head to Silverstone. It's one of the most iconic circuits in world motorsport. It is high speed, it's flowing, and it is incredibly demanding on tyres, especially behind the wheel of a Gen 3 supercar. And tonight it will reward confidence and precision, but I expect it will probably punish even the smallest laps in concentration. This season of Alliance Sim Racing Supercars Championship is, of course, proudly presented by Gard, whose continued support helps bring this championship and the coverage you're watching to life. Alongside me in the booth tonight is Isaac Fogarty. My name, of course, is Jared Cole, and it's a lovely evening to have you all along, whether you're here for the first time or back again for more racing action. Isaac, Silverstone feels like it should be a real proper test at this stage of the season.
Yeah, good evening, Jared. Good evening, everybody at home. It certainly does. I have to say, I'm really excited by the fact that we're doing the legacy layout or the historic Grand Prix configuration this evening, because this is one of my favourite circuits to ever exist, with the old connection to the what is now the back straight, but was back in the day the front straight. So looking forward to this tonight. It's going to be a test for our drivers, especially that first sector, Maggots and Beckett's, and then the run down towards what is now the final complex to corners down the Hangar Straight is really going to be a challenge for our drivers. And if you can get a good run through that Maggots and Baggett's section, you can set yourself up for a move at the end of the Hangar Straight. So looking forward to seeing which drivers can take advantage of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And the key difference, of course, tonight on this historic layout, a couple of corners that have really been slowed down on the modern layout. The corner between Vale and Club, I think it's turn 8 in this layout, although the numbering system here at Silverstone, I'll say, is a little bit interesting, to say the least. But it's a high-speed left-hand kink instead of a 90-degree left these guys are going into. And much the same again in Abbey. The historic layout is a fast kink rather than a sharp 90-degree bend. Now, although that does remove a couple of passing opportunities for a Gen 3 supercar, it does place huge, enormous pressure on the tyres, just the extra pace that our drivers will be carrying tonight. It's going to be so important for the drivers to manage that. Open qualifying going on right now. We are about halfway through 15 minutes of open qualifying going on in the background, and we'll have the grid for you in not too long at all. Race 1 tonight, a 10-lap sprint here at Silverstone, followed by race 2, 30 laps, a reverse top 10 grid with 2 compulsory pit stops and a 70% fuel limit. Now, by my numbers, Isaac, the fuel itself shouldn't be a problem. The 70% fuel limit is, of course, enough to get it done with a single stop at about the 23-lap mark. But of course, the drivers will be starting with somewhere around 50 litres in the tank. It's enough for about 12 laps. So for a 30-lap race, it does mean that there's a little bit of an opportunity to play for that classic undercut here tonight.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of these drivers will be looking for. I think tyre life is going to play a big factor here this evening. There's so much load on both sides of the car. But chiefly that left-hand side, the driver's left on look, it's going to be a challenge for sure, especially with the high load first sector, even the final sector asking a lot. So the undercut could potentially play into it here, and who goes for the bold call and strategy to get themselves onto fresh tyres sooner, but maybe has to play a little bit of a risk game with fuel. A safety car as well here this evening could really spice up that second race.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Look, I'm not anticipating the Chubby Buns safety car to make it out on track tonight. I think it's one of those tracks where we're unlikely to see anything massive. What I do think we'll see, though, potentially is some really high-speed incidents, because the drivers will have to push so hard to find an overtaking opportunity here tonight. With those 90-degree bends taken out of the equation, we know the supercars love to get a pass done under hard braking. There's really only a couple of opportunities for that on this circuit. And so I think we're going to see a lot of panel rubbing as drivers take advantage of even a few k's an hour in speed differential to just try and manufacture a pass where you maybe don't ordinarily expect one to be. Before we do get too excited about things, weather conditions here absolutely beautiful. Track temp coming up a bit, mostly from the cars being out on it, sitting at 33 degrees right now. It'll probably be a bit cooler for the start of the event this evening. Let's take a look at the championship standings as we come into this round. And Wayne Walker out in front, the first driver so far this season to crack 1,000 points, and sitting relatively comfortably out in front after a very, very strong season across the first 4 rounds. Mark Poynton not too far behind. Matt Vanderkran's still in with the shot, as is Jason Bentz. And then a bit more of a gap back to Stephen Varga. Ryan Palmer finds himself with a field chasing him. Andrew Rushworth, Blake Warboys and Mick Clifton all in it. Lorne McKee, the top-rated AM Trophy driver. Tonight the Cup Trophy drivers highlighted in silver for you. So Lorne McKee in a really strong position. He is close, closely followed by Jim Capronis, Jace Douglas and Jamie Dyke in the overall standings, not to mention Andrew Lister not too far back either. But for the moment, he looks reasonably comfortable out in front. Lister's probably the primary challenger, I would expect, for that Cup Trophy come the end of the season, barring, of course, any major changes. Hope you're all getting ready for some very, very exciting racing here this evening. Matt Morgan, I know, has been sitting in the chat waiting for a little while, so glad to finally be live for you, Matty. And g'day, Stephanie. Bit of support for some of the regulars, Andrew Rushworth, Mick Clifton, Brad Hayes, of course, all out there tonight doing their best to set some decent qualifying times. We've got a pretty full field again this evening. I'm counting 38 drivers registered, so it will be a very, very busy track, Isaac.
Yeah, it's going to be a super busy track indeed. The qualifying results, I believe, are starting to come in, and we're getting an idea of what the lap times are looking like as well. So this will give drivers, they would have had a practice session earlier on, but this qualifying session as well will give drivers a sense of what these tyres are going to do and what they need to do to maintain these lap times, because they're looking pretty quick out there. But obviously, as per usual, there's a couple names that jump to the top of that leaderboard and really stand out with the pace that they're setting tonight. So looking forward to seeing what these drivers can do. I've noticed as well that Dean Logsdale and Matt Vanderkran in second and third have actually set the same time in qualifying, so they're actually pretty much matched on time at the moment, which is something you don't see too often.
No, you get pretty close at times, but a dead heat on time is something a little bit more unusual. We'll see how it pans out in a couple of minutes. Probably worth mentioning, of course, tonight we unfortunately miss out on the calm demeanour and dulcet tones of Mr. Josh Harris, the Solar Guard Mustang, unfortunately not able to take the track for its hot lap for this week, but I am assured that the mechanics are going to get that sorted out and he will be back on track next week. Just a few electrical issues is what I'm hearing, but unfortunately Mr. Harris won't get his well, I was going to say 15 seconds, but his minute 44 or so of fame here this evening. He'll have to save it all up for next week and make it an absolute cracker. I expect to see plenty of drifting on that hot lap, if possible. No pressure, Josh, of course, if you're out there watching. The conditions, as we said, absolutely perfect. Qualifying just a couple of minutes left before we are going to get underway here this evening. If you're hanging around in the chat, give us a bit of a shout and let us know who you're keeping an eye on here this evening. Of course, Stephanie's all about the Accelerate Sim Racing team by the look of things. Andrew Rushworth there, Mick Clifton. Where's he hiding in the standings at the moment? Okay, a little bit further down at this stage, but of course, you know, it's early days in qualifying. He's still got a couple minutes, still time for maybe one more lap in there. And then, of course, Brad Hayes from 266 Sim Racing is out on track as well. Will be interesting to see how the motors hold up here at Silverstone. Given the high-speed nature, one of the things that you and I have both seen, Isaac, across a number of races so far this season is just drivers downshifting a little bit too aggressively coming into some of the harder braking zones, and we've seen probably a few more motors give up than I think we've seen in previous seasons. I'm just wondering, do you think we're going to see much of that tonight? What's your prediction?
Look, it's hard to say. I know circuits like VIR have been particularly hard on the engines of these cars. This circuit, I feel, is probably set up in a very similar way. We're looking at a circuit, as you said, with lots of high speed. You spend a lot of time almost at full throttle and carrying a lot of fast flowing corners around here. So this is going to be a really real challenge for these engines. Drivers have to be super careful. I don't know if I haven't quite properly versed myself on the restrictions on assists for all of these series as to whether they're allowed to use auto blip or not. If they're not allowed to use auto blip, they've really got to make sure that they are blipping the throttle on the downshifts, because you'll get away with it for a little bit. But if you, as we all know, anyone that's tried to drive a supercar in any video game before knows, if you don't blip that throttle after a certain amount of time, that engine's just going to go bye-bye. It'll have had enough. So they need to be really careful, really mindful of blipping that throttle. And every driver does it differently. Some will use hand controls to blip the throttle. Some will be like a traditional supercars driver, heel and toe. Some will left foot brake and right foot blip. It's all, everyone does it differently, but it's just making sure you get that ticked off and sorted. And I think we now have it does appear we do have the qualifying results.
We absolutely do, and this is how the grid lines up for our 10-lap sprint to open things here this evening. Wayne Walker and Dean Logsdale take the front row. Matt Vanderkraan and Ken Latta just behind them. Then Jason Bentham, Troy Stonestreet ahead of Andrew Rushworth and Luke Allman, with Stephen Varga and Trav Daly rounding out the top 10. And a pretty close bunch of times there. Once again, all well within a second. And indeed, that continues further back through the grid by just one more spot. Phil Manuel in 11th. Sneaks inside it on second. Lon McKee sets up on row 6 as well. Then James Hardy and Ryan Palmer ahead of Jason Douglas and Jim Capronis. Jamie McKnight and Andrew Listener line up ahead of Rick Vigar and Abel Verban, who rounds out your 20. Andrew Hoffman and Dave Galley ahead of Troy Sipple and Nick Geary. Then Glenn Boyce and Craig Schulz on row 13. Mick Clifton and Jason Dunn on row 14. Todd Martin and Brad Grant close out your top 30. Scotty Perrins and Vince Salvatore 31st and 32nd. Then Mick Power and Brad Hayes ahead of Craig Rose and Mick Rudd. David Logsdale, the last driver to set a time. Ash Hall not managing a qualifying time, and hopefully he does manage to get out on track here this evening. Tim Nicol, of course, behind the wheel of the Chubby Buns safety car, just in case it is called on this evening. And it's going to be an interesting lineup here. One thing I will point out, folks, and it's a bit of an interesting one. I'm not quite sure why this is, but you'll notice a significantly different look here this evening as we do go down to the race surface. So the ASR crew do follow the V8 Vets calendar in terms of track locations and track configurations, and I'm not quite sure the Vets calendar has chosen to use the legacy version of the Silverstone track. So bear in mind that all of our beautiful B-roll filmed at the updated iRacing model of Silverstone, but for some reason V8 Vets decided to use the legacy version, and of course following that means that these guys will be racing on that same surface, so it is going to look just a little different. So bear that in mind as we head on down to the racetrack and see if these drivers are ready to go. They've probably got about 40 odd seconds left to grid up, and it's an awkward starting position on this historic GP layout back around the corner. I'm very glad to have lights come up in the cockpit, because if you're back around that corner, you're not going to see this start row at all.
No way. You're going to have to sort of rely on everyone else around you to know when it's time to go. So it's going to be a pretty tricky start for a lot of drivers here, unless you are at the front of this grid. We're just waiting on a few more cars, as you said, not too far away from the race start. Just noticed in my totem as well, it's definitely some sort of visual glitch, but Tim Nicol in the safety car, as a result of where he technically starts in this race, has lost 7,400 iRating, so I don't think he's going to be too happy about that. Definitely some sort of visual glitch, but I saw that and had a good little chuckle to myself, because that's a big hit to your iRating for qualifying 30th.
I'm just impressed that Tim Nicol is that high up in iRating as we get underway. The lights are up and Wayne Walker leads us away as we start lap 1 of this 10-lap sprint here at Silverstone. The drivers getting on the throttle, and it's a tough start coming around that bend on cold tyres. We head into Cops for the first time as the field tries to get itself sorted out. You're seeing a few changes already. It looks like we've got a jump start perhaps for Dave Galley further back in the field, but have a look at them charge on down. Still trying to get this sorted out. We're 2-3 wide still as we start to get through Magath and Beckett's here, and we've got a little bit of a slide there. Big contact, but thankfully no one pushed too far sideways. It looks like that might have actually been Lorne McKee getting caught up in that, but everyone seems to have survived it as we head on down the first of these straights and get ready to go through these fast curves. I expect that we'll get this relatively cleanly sorted out. You can see just up ahead those cones at the end of this section mark where ordinarily you'd have that 90-degree curve. Here on the historic layout is that big sweeper, and you'll see them come through this S section now at a much higher rate of speed than they otherwise would have come through there. A bit of movement in the background as well as Troy Sipple falls off towards the back of the group, so just struggling a little through some of those turns. Maybe an incident. We'll go back and we'll have a look at it shortly. But the news out in front, Wayne Walker out on those cold tyres, getting off to a brilliant start and started to extend a lead up to almost a second and a half already.
He's had a wonderful start here, hasn't he? Really commanded this field right from the word go. Just walked the car off the line and has disappeared almost 1.2 seconds up the road. We've got cars side by side as they run through towards the back end of this circuit to complete lap 1 of 10. So not a super long race here, only 10 laps in the sprint race, but plenty of time still for drivers to make gains, try and move forward if they can. And you can see there, everyone's sort of finding their own little bit of room now. We've got cars diving into the lane, trying to work out who that's. Galley coming in to serve his black flag, so getting that out of the way. Nice to know. This is Lorne McKee, a rough start, bit of contact. He got loose through Magath and Beckett's and then had contact with a couple other cars, and that seems to have caused a little bit of damage. He's settling back into a rhythm now, though, which is good, and this is Dean Logsdale, who is really trying to keep up with Matt Vanderkram, but still coming under pressure from Ken Latta behind. As a result, Ken Latta off to a good start here. So Dean Logsdale did start on the front row, lost out to Matt Vanderkram on the race start, so lost the position. This is Troy Stone Street and Luke Allman battling for this is 6th and 7th position on the road, and Stone Street gets the move done up into 6th, or whether he held on to that position, not entirely sure. It says he started in 6th, so it may have been defending that position from Allman, who tried to go the long way around. But it looks like there's been some pretty good racing up the front of this pack early on. They're getting the gloves off. Again, 10 laps, not a long time, Jared, so they've got to make something happen early here.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was indeed Luke Allman trying to go around the outside, which is always a difficult prospect, especially relatively early on. But this is the time to do it when you've got the most grip available. Jason Bentz takes a dive at Ken Latta just up ahead, and he manages to squeeze through. Whether he can hold it through this complex is another question as we go to the left, but then come back around to the right. Ladder's just on the inside. He's going to have to pull out of that one. Not quite enough room, but he manages to sneak back in as Benz runs just a little bit wide. They're going to be side by side on the exit of the corner here, and they'll run all the way across the line to start lap 3. And this one is not over yet. Wayne Walker out in front of 44 flat continues to extend his lead, 2.1 seconds. Ken Ladder back in front now. Plenty of moves going on elsewhere in the field. Abel Verban now on the back of Andrew Listener as they battle it out for 20th. He's going to take a dive up the inside, and this is what we're going to see tonight, is some really unorthodox moves. You really don't expect to see much of an opportunity to pass through high-speed corners like this, but these guys are going to have to try it on all night tonight.
Yeah, this is where the talented drivers, the drivers that know what they all know what they're doing, but this is where you can make something happen, and the drivers that do make something happen through here will be the drivers that capitalise the most, move through the field the most, and you'll see the biggest movers and shakers at the end of the night. They're going for these moves. They're bold. This is Ryan Palmer up the inside of Phil Manuel and gets that move done relatively easily. Continues to try and move forward in this race, up 2 spots so far. Jamie McKnight in behind this little battle group, up 3 spots, so he's pushing forward for Vichy Motorsports as well. Ryan Palmer has had a little bit of a difficult run so far this season, probably not the results that he would have liked, so be hoping for a good night here, be able to bounce back. It's just about finding that consistency in this car, which is so hard to do in a car. No traction control, no ABS. The engine can blow up any minute if you're downshifting correctly. This is a nice little battle. Watching Stephen Varga for, I believe it's Quantum Racing, with Andrew Rushworth and Jason Douglas in behind him, and they're all scrapping over position at the moment, trying to find their own little piece of real estate. Everyone wants to try and get past, and they are really just I thought there was going to be a move there from Jason Douglas. He shaped up like he was going to make a move into the second last corner, but nothing really that he was able to do there. So they push on for another lap. We're on lap 4. We're almost halfway into this race. Man, how time does fly in a sprint race, doesn't it, Jared?
It really does. And you talk about shaping up for a move there. It's a really tough one to make a call on here tonight at Silverstone. We've said it a few times already. It's such a high-speed track. Passing is difficult at the best of times in these supercars. And I think tonight is going to be one of the ultimate tests of manufacturing a move, because there just are not a whole bunch of options there. A few penalties starting to come through. We saw Mick Clifton pick up a 10-second penalty for some lap 1 contact just a moment ago, and now a drive-through being issued as well to car number 9, that is Mick Power, picking up a drive-through. So some of that early contact just being reviewed by the stewards at the moment. Meanwhile, out in front, well, almost out in front, 3.2 seconds back from Wayne Walker. Just insane from Walker again this week. But Van der Kraan and Dean Logsdale scrapping it out for P2. Logsdale lost this spot off the line. Can he get that back from Matt Van der Kraan? The job of the car in front is actually the much easier one here at Silverstone, because it's such a relatively easy track to defend on. There's just so few opportunities for people to take a dive. So as long as you're holding a good line and some good pace through these corners, it's going to be really, really tough for Dean Logsdale to find a way through here.
Yeah, and it certainly will be. And as we said earlier, this is a circuit where the drivers that move forward in this race, the good drivers, will be the ones that can create opportunities in corners where you don't necessarily expect, because someone like Matt Van der Kraan, he's going to be wise to a move at the first corner here. He's going to be wise to a move at the end of the hanger straight. Where he won't be wise to a move is somewhere like Maggots and Beckett's, where you typically wouldn't expect a driver to try and take an overtake up the inside or drive it around the outside. So this is what Dean Logsdale needs to do now. He needs to try and set up Matt Van der Kraan just to catch him unawares, a little bit unexpected, get him in the zone where he can confidently make an overtake stick. And these guys are really good at racing side by side and racing very cleanly, leaving each other plenty of room. But he needs to capitalise and make sure that he's in a position where he can catch Matt Van der Kraan by surprise, because he's seen this all before. He is very clued in to a lot of these key moves, like at the end of this straight here. This is something that a lot of people will try throughout the evening, is the braking zone right here is a great place to go for an overtake. But as you get further into this lap, it's not really a lot of opportunities that are afforded to a driver. So creating your own opportunity will be key. And he is putting the pressure. And Ken Latta and Jason Bent sort of dropping off the back of this group, falling into the clutches of this group here, actually, which is headed up by Troy Stonestreet, Luke Ullman, then Stephen Varga, Andrew Rushworth, and Jason Douglas. Trav Daly and Ryan Palmer also not too far off the back of this little battle pack here. So we could see a 7-car battle very soon for 7th place in this race, because these guys are all just forming their own little train. Again, as you said, it's so hard to overtake here, so everyone just sort of falls into line and ends up forming a little bit of a train, and hopefully someone's able to make a move soon. This is Luke Ullman looking from his rear wing at Stephen Varga, who's under a lot of pressure from Andrew Rushworth. This is a really nice camera angle, actually. Just gives you a sense of how the cars sit in the corner, just how loose they are. Look at Stephen Varga getting a little bit squirrely on the exit, just trying to get the power down, but you don't want to be too early with the power, because, again, no traction control. If you just get the throttle up at the wrong moment, that car will spin. So they're trying to be so patient, but just carry as much speed as possible. Luke Ullman, he'll be trying to look forward here, not backwards, but you cannot discount the car behind, because Stephen Varga, if he sees a gap, he will go for it.
Yeah, absolutely will. And the interesting thing to watch here is just how these drivers do maintain the pace as the tyres start to fall off. You really only get 3 or 4 laps out of these tyres, and you're asking a lot of them to carry as much pace as we're seeing already. Though the time's really starting to fall off. Wayne Walker's last time was almost 0.8 off his best time. A full second is a huge amount of difference, and really just comes down to the tyre wear here. 6 laps of high speed, high load corners. This will be a really, really good pressure test for these drivers if they weren't particularly sure of just what to expect out of the tyres from race number 2. And they're going to go through 3 sets of them across 3 stints. The question will be, what do we see in terms of pit strategy? As we see Nick Geary get very, very loose. He's trying to chase down Rick Vigar right now, and not quite able to do it this time, but he'll stay on the hunt. Speaking of the hunt, Damon the Shark Fisher checking into the chat. G'day, mate. Good to have you along. shame you're out tonight. And look, if it was me, I would have just sold the old rig and taken it as an excuse to buy a new one and just build a new one in that place. But then, that's me.
Yeah, I definitely would take that excuse to go, well, I had to move the old one. We've got side by side here. This is Nick Geary trying to make something happen with Rick Vigar, but again, that inside line goes back to Vigar.
Big slide.
Very loose from both of them. It started with Geary. He had a massive slide, and Rick Vigar maybe felt a bit left out, wanted to have a bit of a slide of his own. But unfortunately for Geary, who continues to struggle for grip, he's now lost spots to Law McKean coming under major pressure from Vernon. This is going to end in tears. A little bit of contact between Vernon and Vernon, and I believe that was Geary.
It was Geary.
I don't know if anyone else was involved in that incident.
Amazingly,
but that was
no.
a very big moment. I thought I was going to end in a lot more tears than it did. A very bold overtake. And it's handed Vernon a lot of positions, or not a lot of positions, but a couple of positions. That's cost Nick Geary more positions to Andrew Listener and Andrew Hoffman. So that car is causing him all sorts of problems. But I think turn one, very bold place to go for an overtake. He almost made it work, but the gap just wasn't quite there.
This is what we're going to see tonight, though, is people trying moves that ordinarily you wouldn't rate the percentage chance of them coming off. You've got to go for it here at Silverstone. Also, though, the amount of grip that just isn't there for Geary in that rear end after 7 laps. We're going to see a very, very interesting strategy choice, I think, in this longer second race that lies just ahead, because these guys are not getting 10 laps out of these tyres. Now, whether that's because they're just pushing at full pace here because it is a sprint race and not worrying quite so much about the tyre management, or some other factor involved is something to consider. But you know, we're on to lap 8 now as Wayne Walker comes across the line. The pace is dropping off, not significantly. It's starting to settle a bit. We know that does happen with these tyres, but you know, these guys are starting to feel it quite a bit already as we get to what will be about 2/3 of the way through a full tank stint in race 2. So this should be a bit of a warning sign for some drivers as to, you know, whether or not they need to perhaps consider a little more carefully their tyre management in race 2.
Yeah, that is going to be a challenge. It just also will depend how gentle you are with that throttle application on the exit of the corner. If you're someone that really likes to try and get the power down and as a result gets a little bit loose with the rear end, that will cost you a lot of rear tyre grip, and as the stint gets on, you're going to have to get more and more cautious with that throttle. Whereas you're someone who's just naturally light-footed, gets the power down quite easily, and is able to look after those rear tyres. As we see, this is Brad Grant trying to go around the outside of Troy Sipple into at the end of the hangar straight, and I believe it's Stowe Corner. Can't get that done, and for now has to settle in back behind once again for this usually a 90-degree corner, but sweeping left-right into what would be in the future in this situation, but in present day, that is the front straight for the Silverstone circuit, the new front straight. They're still battling away at the front, but yeah, looking after those rear tyres is going to be key. So whoever can really just get the power down with relative ease without causing a slide or a bit of wheel spin is going to be the people that come out on top in this next race in terms of strategy for sure. But this battle, this is towards the front end of the AM Trophy class. So we've got Rick Vigar, who's sitting second in class at the moment. He's got Law McKee and Baban right behind him, as well as Listener and Garrios. So this is a nice little trophy class battle.
Worth pointing out, Abel Verban picking up a 5-second penalty for that contact we saw earlier, as now Phil Manuel tries something on with James Hardy, can't quite get alongside in time to make anything of it, but look at him closing in behind that Quantum Racing entry. He is looking for that move sooner rather than later. There's a few close battles going on towards the back of the pack here. We're keeping a close eye, of course, on Vanderkraan and Dean Logsdale up front, but they've been pretty steady for a little while now. There's a couple of tight ones going on back here, though, and one of them is, again, Nick Geary involved. He's desperately trying to make up a couple of spots that he lost with that earlier slide, right on the tail of Andrew Listener, who is at the back of that pack headed by Rick Vigar. So they're just hanging on to the back, having their own little battle at the moment. Can Nick Geary pick up another spot or not? It looks like he's got a pretty good run here. He'll be on the outside. A little bit of a defensive move from Listener on the way into this left-right section. But Geary's got a great bit of pace. He's going around the outside. Can he actually keep going with that is the question. He's going to have to settle back in for the moment, but gives you an idea of just how hard he's pushing.
He's pushing side. He's done a really nice job actually to settle down that rear end. It looks, obviously, as we saw earlier, really loose. And this is Ryan Palmer, Trav Daly. So Trav Daly up the inside on Ryan Palmer. This is battle. This is 11th spot on the road. So not
Daly's
quite
been holding Palmer
a spot
for a
inside
while.
the 10, but he has, and he's really doing a good job of defence.
It's it's 1 lap to go. I don't know if Palmer's got it in him at this point. He's had a couple of cracks at this, but Trav Daly really strong. Abel Verben now off the inside. He's coming into the pits, that's an interesting one. I'm not quite sure what's happened there. We'll jump forward though. This battle's still going on. Vanderkran and Logsdale, second and third. Wayne Walker, 5.5 seconds out in front. What do you even say?
Yeah.
This guy has just been too fast all season, and we're only halfway there. I almost want to start taking bets on just how many points ahead he's going to finish in first place. But of course, this builds up a little bit of room for him to make mistakes and to have some less promising rounds in the future. It's not a bad way to start it off, as we see a battle back here in 22nd, 23rd. These guys try and get sorted out. Craig Schultz just holding off Troy Sipple, and I don't know that he's going to manage it because Sips is up alongside. He's going to be on the inside for this turn. Can Brad Grant follow through as well? Schultz finds himself stuck on the outside. Grant can't quite get the pace, and so just barely Craig Schultz will hold on to 23rd. How long it'll last is anyone's guess. We are getting closer and closer to the finish of this one. Ryan Palmer is trying everything to get past Trav Daly. He is right up underneath that rear wing, but time is running out. And as we come to the finish line, Wayne Walker will round the final turn to take the win here in race number 1 at full noise, 6 seconds further back. Vanderkran, and then Dean Logsdale comes home in third with Ken Latta right behind. Jason Benz has a bit of a slide on the way through as the rest of the field starts to roll on through. Here comes Trav Daly. Ryan Palmer's going to go for it at line. So close. Only 4,000th of a second in it. He threw everything at that at the line. And that's one of the things you've got to love about this layout for Silverstone. That finishing line allows you to just try something a little bit different on the way through. We're going to have a really close finish there as well between Schultz Dunn and Brad Grant as well. The rest of the crew now just starting to trickle on through. Vince Salvatore and Todd Martin just about to cross the line in a nice little pack there as well. And then some of these drivers enjoying just a little bit of extra space compared to others. But what a finish for a couple of those spots. In particular, Ryan Palmer just 4,000ths off picking up an extra spot there. And look, honestly not going to make a huge difference in terms of points, I'm sure. But it's not just about the points, is it? It's the bragging rights, and getting that pass done at the line would have been something pretty special. Abel Verban, the last driver on track, is just about to come across the line now, and then we will have our official results for race number 1.
Yeah, what a finish between us. So I was watching the gap on the totem just slowly close, and he got so close in the end. Ryan Palmer, he threw everything at that at Trav Daly at the end, but couldn't get it to stick. So in the end, it is Wayne Walker that walks away with the victory in that race. A very dominant victory, 6 seconds up the road from Matt Vanderkran. He is flying this season, Wayne Walker. Very Scott McLaughlin-esque, I feel, the performance he's had so far this season. Matt Vanderkran second. Dean Logsdale tried everything he could to throw at Matt Vanderkran, but just couldn't find a way past, and we'll have to settle him for third. Ken Latta and Jason Bentz in your top 5. Then it's Troy Stonestreet, Luke Allman and Stephen Varga, and Andrew Rushworth and Jason Douglas rounding out the top 10 in that one, with Trav Daly and Ryan Palmer with that absolute classic of a finish. So close between the two of them, 4,000ths of a second. It does not get much closer than that, ladies and gentlemen. Jamie McKnight and Jim Capronis, and then James Hardy, Phil Manuel, Rick Varga, Lorne McKee, and Nicholas Geary and Andrew Lister round out your top 20 for that race. Looking a little further afield, we have Andrew Hoffman and Troy Sipple, then Craig Schulz, Jason Dunn, Brad Grant, Glenn Boyce, Brad Hayes, Scott Perrins, Craig Rose and Vince Salvatore round out your top 30, and then Todd Martin, Mick Clifton, Dave Galley, Ash Hall, who didn't set a time in qualifying, moved up a couple spots in that race to 34th, then David Logsdale, Mick Rudd, Mick Power, and then Abel Verban was the last driver across the line who came into the pits at the end of that one. Not entirely sure what happened there with that, because I know he did have a 5-second penalty hanging over his head, but I didn't see anything about a drive-through, Jared, so I'm not sure what caused the last lap pit, but sure, he must know something that obviously we don't.
Yeah, look, your guess is as good as mine. I didn't see anything obvious. Just to add insult to injury, though, I noted just at the end there that Verban picked up a 5-second penalty for a pit lane rule breach. So if he has come in to his pit bay, if he's come across into the pit lanes themselves earlier than is allowed with the league, then that will explain that one. But not the race he was probably hoping for, I'm sure. We've got a couple of minutes ahead of us before we do start on race 2. Remembering, of course, that we do have a reverse top 10 grid. So Andrew Rushworth and Jason Douglas will be on the front row. Luke Allman and Stephen Varga behind them. Jason Benson, Troy Stonestreet on row 3. Then Dean Logsdale and Ken Latta ahead of Wayne Walker and Matt Vanderkraan. Plenty more action yet to come. Just a taster there of what's ahead of us. 30 laps. The challenge is going to be in strategy. There's plenty of fuel. The real factor tonight, I think, is going to be tyres. We'll be right back to have a bit of a chat about that before we get underway for race 2. Don't go anywhere. This is Simple Racing Broadcasts. Well, welcome back, folks. We're having a bit of a chat off air as we waited to get ready for race number 2 here as to just what to expect here tonight. And Isaac, I think the story will be all about tyres. We saw some drivers really starting to struggle at about the 8-lap mark here, and with 30 laps ahead, I do wonder whether we're going to see a different approach from these drivers in terms of tyre management for race number 2. I'm expecting an opening stint of about 11 or 12 laps from most of these drivers. The question will be, do some of them cut it a bit short and make it into 3, even 10-lap stints? Do others want to go a longer stint with just a splash and dash at the end? It's going to be an interesting one. There's not a lot of room to play around with it here tonight, but tyres might be the question.
That will be the topic of the night, I think. As you said, we've got limited fuel, 50 litres at the start of this race, so I think you said about 12 laps they'll probably get out of that tank of fuel, which means that we're sort of limited in what we see in this first stint, but the drivers that can go longer will see the benefit towards the end of this race because they'll have to ask less of that final set of tyres. So this is really where it comes into the fore and what the drivers can do on strategy. I'll hand over to you now, though, Jared, to walk us through the grid because we do have reverse top 10, which means that Jason Douglas will start from the pole.
That he will. The Alliance Sim Racing Solar Guard Supercar Championship, round 5 at Silverstone. Race 2 lines up like this. Jason Douglas and Andrew Rushworth on the front row. Then Stephen Varga and Luke Allman ahead of Stonestreet and Benz, with Ken Latta and Dean Logsdale on row 4. Matt Vanderkraan and Wayne Walker in 9th and 10th, rounding out your top 10. It'll be interesting to see what Walker has up his sleeve to try and charge through here. As we look further back, the rest of the field will start as they finish. So Daly and Palmer ahead of McKnight and Caperonis, then Hardy and Manuel, Vigar and McKee, Geary and Listener rounding out your 20. Hoffman and Sipple 21st and 22nd, then Schulz and Dunn ahead of Grant and Boyce. Brad Hayes and Scott Perrins 27th and 28th, with Craig Rose and Vince Salvatore on row number 15. Todd Martin and Mick Clifton behind them, then Dave Galley. We are actually going straight to the racing. These guys have jumped into it very, very quickly here tonight. It's unusual that we do get dragged in quite so quickly, but we are underway already, and Douglas and Rushworth lead us away. And these drivers are wasting no time getting onto the grid. They're pretty keen to get these 30 laps underway. I hope you at home are as well, as we start to see the field charge on through. And I want to say this is almost a more aggressive start to race number 2 than we saw in the opening one.
It certainly feels a little bit more aggressive, doesn't it? Got drivers that are desperate to make up some spots. Look at Ryan Palmer there on the grass almost, trying to find a way around some of these drivers at the start here. I believe that is Matt Vanderkran that he's in behind. He's got Wayne Walker off the start. So Wayne Walker going backwards spot, Ryan Palmer up too. We've got drivers trying to find real estate as we run down the hanger straight for the first time. So they're spread out all over the place, weaving back and forth. We've got drivers looking for moves as we run into Stowe for the first time. We've got, who's that up the inside? That's Ryan Palmer once again trying to find a way past Matt Vanderkran. He is going to slot in behind here. He was going to be on the outside line there, but he's fallen back in behind, just trying to find a way past. Again, it's such a tricky circuit to make an overtake happen. This is the time. This is the race where you probably can afford to bide your time a little bit, but any time spent behind another car is going to cause a lot of hot air and tyre buildup. This is into the inside for Douglas on Rushworth, so he's trying to reassert after starting on the pole. He's trying to get that lead back, and he does so.
I actually think it's Rushworth trying to go around the outside there.
It is. That's a bold move. That's a bold place to go on the outside.
I mean, this is when you've got to do it, though. We've spoken about tyres being such a factor here. It's not just about tyre longevity. It's also going to be a question of, you know, do you have the grip to try some of these moves on later on? We see the first strategy pit stop come into play. Dean Logsdale comes straight in, as does Jim Caperonis. So we are starting to see drivers making some very interesting decisions. Oh, Nick Geary, big bit of contact there, comes into the wall. He's going to come back into the centre. What's going on there?
Hold your breath. He's still stranded on the track. How many other cars are involved in this? Looks like there is.
He's trying to get it off the track and out of the way.
He is.
He's managed to get it out there. I think Troy Sipple got caught up in it as well. So I'm.
Sipple.
I don't know what's happened there. We'll go back and we'll take another look at it in just a moment.
Logsdale as well, potentially. Mick Rudd maybe caught up in that as well. There's a couple drivers. I think most drivers have done a really good job actually to avoid that and of not actually cause a major incident there, because that looked like it could have been a lot messier. But he's still off track, so we could get a safety car here any second now. So this is a potential. And he's fallen in behind, which says there is a safety car. And there we go, confirmation from race control. So those drivers that pitted early, that's a brilliant strategy call. Dean Logsdale especially made that key call to come in at the end of lap one. It's almost like you could see the future with the pit stop that he made. And that is going to be an absolute free kick, because now the rest of them still have to serve 2 pit stops in this race. He's going to join back up to this pack like he barely lost any time, and he's already ticked off 1 box.
Yeah, this will be an interesting one. If Loggers actually filled this up, with late dive there from Rushworth as he decides to jump into the pits. This will be interesting. It will basically put Dean Logsdale out to the front. So I think most of these drivers, it's a tough call, right? It's a really tough call, because you've almost lost a bit of the advantage of that early pit stop, because the rest of the field's going to get theirs effectively free here. But you're out in front where all these drivers are now going to be sitting in behind you. And this is a really, really hard track to get it past, on it. So look, I don't know how much it's going to be of benefit for Dean Logsdale and Jim Caperonis, but look at them shoot up the timing tower. There goes Logsdale, so he's flown all the way back up. Andrew Rushworth, though, has managed to get out ahead of Logger still, and Matt Vanderkran's coming out alongside. So that is an interesting one. Very quick stop for Andrew Rushworth, and I guess just shows that maybe an extra lap would have been helpful for Logsdale, because he was still probably a bit far back when the safety car was called to really benefit, I suppose. But in any case, the Chubby Buns safety car sees some action tonight. Tim Nicol actually gets to have a bit of a drive.
He does earn some of those iRating points back by being out on the circuit, which sounds like he sorely needs after being taken after losing 7,400 of them. But anyway, I find it interesting Jason Douglas has decided to go the alternate route here and not come in and take the free stop with everybody else, because that means he's now going to be out of sequence. Everyone else only having to serve 1 more stop. Yes, both his stints will mean that he doesn't have to look after the tyres anywhere near as much, because he still has to stop twice. But I think this is going to be a tough ask for him to finish amongst the top group here, unless we get another safety car later in this race, which we very well could.
And he'll be hoping for one, because it's what he's going to need to even have a hope of getting back into sequence here. I actually think this has not been a great decision from Douglas, but he's committed to it right now. He's gonna have to follow through on it, because to pull out now and try and take a pit stop is absolute chaos ahead. So let's go back and take a look and see just what happened for Nick Geary and see what's going on. The Chubby Buns replay, big slide there. And look at this, just bounces off the wall. Troy Sipple gets collected, but Geary got absolutely hammered. I might try and go back just a little bit further
as well,
and see what actually set that off for Geary. If you bear with us for just a moment, folks, I think we can get a bit of a view further back. So coming out this corner, there is a bit of contact there. But how unlucky is it to hit that wall that just spears him back across the track? And for Troy Sipple, big damage. The motor pops, and that will be Sip's night. Pretty well done.
Which is an absolute shame. He is sitting in the pit lane, it does appear, Troy Sipple, so super disappointing. It looked like potentially Brad Grant also caught up in that one. Just trying to work out, one of the team AJR cars definitely caught up in that. I believe it was actually Brad Grant, so that was unfortunate as well. Trying to work out who the Accelerate Sim Racing car was that was involved in that with Nick Geary, but I can't
give me a
quite
tick.
work out.
I reckon, and yeah, look, this is a bit of a guesstimate based on the details we've got here. But looking at the timing, I think it might have been Lorne McKee.
It was close to him on the circuit at the time, considering their starting positions relatively similar. So
let's take a quick look. I think this will be at the. This is the nose of Lorne McKee, and there's Nick Geary just ahead.
Look how loose he is.
He's super quick. Yeah, Geary's very loose, but yeah, just the tiniest of touches, and that all happens behind McKee. Then I don't think there's anything in that. But look, that'll be race control to have a look at, I'm sure. And Tim Nicol, I have no doubt, will get onto that as soon as he gets out of the driver's seat of the Chubby Buns safety car, which is still leading this pack around. Now, this is going to benefit pretty much. It's really only going to benefit Jason Douglas at the moment in terms of the extra few laps that he's getting out of this. But I mean, what's he going to do here? Is the real question. I don't know. I don't know how he's going to try and pull this back. I believe we've got the safety car coming in this lap. So the field will be in the hands of Jason Douglas. You can see them all just starting to stack up behind. It's a long train, but we'll see them soon enough, I'm sure, get themselves sorted out and back up to top speed. The question is, when does Douglas make the jump? He's got obviously a little way to go yet before he does hit the restart zone. But he'll be working frantically in his head on what his strategy is from here. I'm almost inclined to say that we've pretty much got him out of contention now as we make our way through to this final hairpin before we start that long sequence of right-hand action. The left tyres will be screaming in no time. We are just about to get underway again as Douglas brings us back around onto the main straight, and he gets the foot down. We'll get the green flag, and we are back up and racing as we start a lap 5. Jason Douglas brings us down the straight. He's got a good jump on Rushworth, but here comes the rest of this field, and I'm expecting that there'll be some not so cool heads out there on track at the moment.
It's going to be a very hot-headed restart, that is for sure. Drivers need to remember this is a long race. There's a fair way to go, and pushing and shoving this early is not going to be to the benefit of anybody. So Dean Logsdale, he's actually done himself a really good service. He's second provisionally once everybody serves their stops. The only car left to serve their stop, obviously, is the man leading this field, Jason Douglas. So once those stops are served, he is second on the road. The man that has work to do is Wayne Walker. He has still lost a spot in this race. Multiple cars in front of him have gained places from those pit stops, potentially short filling in their stop as well, not taking as much fuel on board as what they would usually do to get to the maximum stint time that they would need to really maximise these tires. I think it's 23 laps of fuel potentially is the data that you were sharing with me earlier, Jared. But
my best guess is about 23 laps, and yeah, it's look, it doesn't make any sense to try and push the tyres that far here tonight as Van der Kraan loses a spot to Bentz. He's going to try and regain this around the outside, but Bentz is pushing on very, very hard. Van der Kraan, if he can hold on, he will be on the inside for the run back onto the main straight. He's probably just dropped back a little bit too far. Bentz will come across and he will solidify that spot. Stone Street is around in the background. What's happening? He's falling down the order quicker than I can find him. There he is. He's off in the kitty litter. I knew he was there somewhere. But yeah, I think probably just overcooking it a little bit as we see the time starting to come through. Dean Logsdale sets the fastest lap so far, 1:44.4. Here comes Ryan Palmer charging up behind the Chubby Buns entry, Jim Caparonis for Southern Cross Racing. Palmer's looking to the side here. He's going to be around the outside, and the entry into Maggots can't quite get alongside, so pulls out of that and keeps them both in the race and both pointed in the right direction. Probably a very, very wise call there. Lorne McKee, meanwhile, behind is struggling under pressure from Stephen Varga, and plenty of action still on track. Wayne Walker cannot seem to find his way through the traffic at the moment. He's sitting in 11th with Luke Orman in a hot pursuit as well. So take a look at that timing tower. Lots going on. Lorne McKee has picked up a black flag, and I can confirm that is a race control issued black flag. And I will guess before we even get the message come through from race control, that'll be for the contact with Nick Geary.
Yes, which is look, obviously race control and Tim Nicol seeing something that we haven't, that suggests that that was fairly intense contact and worthy of a drive-through. So he won't be too thrilled, will Lorne McKee, but there's not much you can do. Once the stewards hand out a penalty like that, you need to cop it on the chin. So he'll have to come through for that drive-through relatively shortly. I'd get it out of the way straight away if I was him. Serve it now, and that way it's done. But this Stephen Varga, he's really trying to push all he can up to the back of Lorne McKee, because he's got his Accelerate teammate in Wayne Walker for company right behind him. But Wayne Walker, likewise, has Luke Orman for company. It just shows the difficulty as Lorne McKee pulls in for serve that drive-through. It just shows the difficulty of overtaking around here. Someone like Wayne Walker, who was so quick in that first race, is struggling to move forward. Meanwhile, this lead group, Andrew Rushworth and Dean Logsdale, struggling to find a way past Jason Douglas.
And look, I think probably the smart thing for them to do is just sit in here and just wait for the JMR car to come in for its first pit stop, keeping in mind that everyone else has made their first of 2 compulsory stops here tonight. The JMR crew have not made their first yet, so unless Douglas starts to really hold these guys up on time, that they should be watching the gap back to probably Matt Van der Kraan is the interesting gap for them, as we see Rushworth get a bit of extra pace there. The JMR car moves across. Douglas gets himself set up for this turn. He was defending the inside, moves to the outside to get the apex line sitting in place, and for now he's going to hold on to it, but it's only a matter of time before he has to come in for that stop. I don't know what the strategy will be, but Dean Logsdale doesn't want to wait around for that. He's got a great drive up the inside, and he's going to look to try and take second place away from Rushworth here. I don't think he's quite going to get there in time. G'day, Mark. Welcome into the chat. Yeah, the historical Silverstone layout. It's definitely proved to be a challenging one for these supercars, particularly from the perspective of tyre management tonight. Jason Bentz sneaks through on Dean Logsdale. So just gets up alongside, big slide on the way out. That's not going to do those rears any good. And remember, this is about where we started to see the tyres giving up in race 1. And you can see, look at the amount of traction that is lost as soon as he puts the foot down. Jason Bentz in a hurry to get moving. He wants to get well out in front if he can, and fair enough too, because that gap to Van der Kraan has dropped by almost half a second that lap.
Yeah, he is He's really trying to get away, isn't he? Because Vanderkruijs has a lot of pace. Up the inside from Andrew Rushworth. That's a bold spot for an overtake. Jason Douglas is going to try and come back at him here with the better drive off the corner. They're going to be side by side as they run towards Maggots and Beckett's, and Jason Douglas gets back in front. Jason Bence is going to invite himself to this party now, a little bit wide through Maggots into Beckett's now. And this is some brilliant racing between these guys, just so close at the front. And that was a lovely switchback move from Jason Douglas. Let Andrew Rushworth, left him the room to make the move, and then got the secondary drive off the corner, had the better exit, and was able to sneak back past him on the run towards the very fast-flowing circuit, part of the circuit that is Maggots and Beckett's. And now this is Ken Latta trying to find a way past James Hardy. Just keep in mind in front, Wayne Walker is still trying to find a way past Stephen Varga, and so likewise Luke Orman. So Ken Latta has a real key opportunity now to close up to the back of this group and start to apply a little bit more pressure, because he's got a lot of pace in that Fishy Motorsports Mustang at the moment, and these guys, especially Wayne Walker, is really struggling to try and get this overtake done.
Yeah, and look, we knew that was going to be the challenge here tonight. I think what these drivers need to start to look at is pit strategy and how an undercut might be the best way to get a pass done here. If you're not finding a way through across this opening 8 laps, keep in mind we did have a couple of safety car laps, of course, but if you're not finding a way through, then maybe the pit strategy is the way to do it. It's too early to call, and it will really depend on what sort of fuel load these drivers do want to run with in their final stint. Bearing in mind they've all had their first stop, so I wouldn't expect them to be actually thinking about a pit stop until probably at least the midpoint. That said, these guys have got all sorts of options, because if they have filled these tanks to the brim, or at least to the end of the race, they don't actually need to come in for anything more than a splash and dash. Remember, a compulsory pit stop, all you have to do is get the car up on the jack. So take on 1 litre of fuel. It's around about a half a second that you're up on the jacks, and then you back out again. So I suspect most of these drivers probably setting up for that particular scenario.
Yeah, which again, we'll be asking a lot of the tyres at the end of the stage of this race, so looking after the tyres will be key, and a lot of these drivers aren't really doing that at the moment. The way they're pushing to try and get some overtakes done, looking at the lap times, the tyres are starting to get to a phase where they're falling off, and you can really just, as the lead driver in the group, really set the pace, can't you? Obviously, you can't drive super slow because that'll really open the door for an overtake to be done, but you can set the pace in that if you don't want to go as fast, you want to look after your tyres, you can just go a little bit slower, because it is so super difficult, and a lot of these guys will know where they can take it a little bit easier and where they need to go at pace or a bit faster to try and defend their position so they don't lose a spot. This is Scott Perrins and Todd Martin battling away for 23rd. The teammates actually, albeit one in a Ford, one in a Chevy, so they're opposing manufacturers.
Basically mortal enemies at that point, aren't they?
Basically, they're teammates, but they're mortal enemies.
Just the way it goes in Gen 3 supercars. I do realise I've been remiss. Mark Poynton in the chat rather than on track tonight. Hope you are enjoying the broadcast, mate. We've missed you on track this week, and I've got no doubt we'll see you back out there next week if all goes according to plan. Stephen Varga and Wayne Walker continue on. No change in the order at the moment, but Walker just continues to threaten, keeps closing up in behind that Camaro, and then not being able to find a way through. Bit of pressure up front as well. Just a little bit further ahead of that battle. Douglas and Rushworth still in it. Bence has got a bit of room to make up, and then he's got a bit of breathing room behind him to Vanderkruijs, but Ryan Palmer's right there. He's got some good pace. He's up 7 spots. Jim Caparonis, all on his own at the moment in 6th, but he's up 8 spots so far, so really benefiting from the way it's all fallen at that first pit stop. I'm not quite sure how he managed to pick up that much extra, but he did have a very, very quick stop. Only 17 seconds in the bay, where most of the other drivers were sort of 20, 22 seconds. So some definite differences in fuel strategy, and I suspect that what we've got there is, and this is a bit of a guess, right, but the drivers sitting around that kind of 17-ish second mark in our pit timers here, I reckon have probably put in just enough fuel to cover the tyre change. I think that's usually about 18 seconds, maybe 20 seconds at most to get your tyres changed over. And they'll be planning to take on a little bit more fuel to offset some time spent getting a new set of tyres for their final stint. So I'm going to predict that we are going to see, look, probably some pit stops around lap 20 is my guess. The drivers will want to get 5, 6, 7 really good laps out of a new set of tyres, and you don't want to spend too long on it beyond that and lose any pace. Speaking of pace, Wayne Walker has a big look at the inside of Stephen Varga again. Can't find his way through, but just continues to get in the mirrors and throw himself up alongside, or at least feint as though he's going to. Trying to unsettle Varga, but Varga's very, very seasoned competitor. He's not going to be thrown by that. He's just going to continue to push on and keep his eyes focused firmly forward. We keep coming back to this battle up the front because these three keep closing in. It opens up and closes back up. Jason Bentz, though, has absolutely reeled them in, and it makes me think that maybe Douglas is starting to be a little bit of a cork in the bottle for Rushworth at this point.
I think he certainly is. Once Rushworth and Bentz can find a way past, they will be, honestly, they'll be so fun. They'll be so quick. They'll be absolutely released. They're lapping in the 146s at the moment. And we've seen 144s out of all these guys. Keep in mind, these tyres are now approaching on about 10 laps old. So they're getting up there in age, but they can still churn out good times. This Dean Logsdale conundrum is really throwing me. He's having that second pit stop already. He's going to ask a lot of these tyres to the end of the race. So Dean Logsdale going for a very unconventional strategy indeed, and just staying out for what most likely will be a long time till the end of this race. His tyres will be absolutely shredded by the end. We've got a safety car. Not entirely sure what that's for. Trying to work out what has happened. This is... Who are we on board with here? We're on...
Has he taken off and picked up an extra lap here?
I'm so confused as to what is happening at the moment. I'm just trying to get an understanding, because all these cars are sitting in behind the safety car, but it doesn't appear to be a Trav Daly who has raced to the end of this circuit and will essentially get a free... He's going to come out before the safety car even gets to the front straight.
Yeah, it's a really odd one.
The safety car's in this lap.
I believe so at this point, based on the... No, safety car is staying out. My apologies. We jumped ahead. Folks, very sorry for the issues with the connection there. YouTube just deciding to have a moment. You haven't missed much, with the exception of Trav Daly, we think getting released past the safety car, but electing not to come in and take that second stop. Is that effectively going to put him a lap up? This is going to be... look, without hearing race radio, I am at a bit of a loss as to how this is going to play out.
He hasn't stopped again. He's continuing to lap around. He's almost halfway around the circuit again. He's going to catch this pack.
He's going to be at the back of the pack.
He's going to be a lap ahead of everybody. He's going to be a lap up. He's going to be a lap ahead of everybody else. I do not understand.
Something's happened that we've missed here. I'm certain that race control will get it sorted, but I wish I knew what was being called on the radio, because that might explain a few things.
Absolutely, it would definitely explain a few things, I'm sure. But yeah, our timing. We have Trav Daly as leading this race, and he is almost to the back of this pack now, and going to potentially put everybody a lap down.
Yeah, it's incredibly strange. But while that's getting sorted out, some questions from the chat. What triggered the safety car? And we'll go back and have a look. So David Logsdale was the reason for the safety car. Now, nothing to see. He pulls the car over, but I'm pretty certain. And as much as I don't love to do things this way, yeah, sure enough, there it is, the downshift, and there goes the motor.
Oh, yeah, that's super disappointing.
It's almost like, as we exit the Chubby Buns replay, it's almost like if we don't get a popped motor, then I'm not watching a supercars race at the moment, because every week we have seen a motor go. I'm sure I'm gonna have to go back and I reckon as a final round, end of season kind of montage. I think we put together clips of
Compilation.
all of the popped motors we've seen this season. Trav Daly is into
How many
the
of them are
pits.
going to be Ryan Palmer?
Trav Daly is into the
Trav Daly
pits.
is in the pits. That is.
And
he's coming out
he's
of
coming
the pits
back
now.
out, but is he waiting for the safety car, or is he continuing on? And it certainly looks like he is
he's at speed.
Yeah, off and away. So I am at an absolute loss as to what's happened there.
This has stumped me. I don't get stumped too often when I'm in the commentary box. I like to pretend that I know everything when it comes to racing, Jared Cobb, but this is certainly something that
I don't pretend to know everything.
Understand.
I don't pretend to know everything, that's for sure. As we see, I think Vince Salvatore getting a wave by there.
I like to seem confident,
Yeah.
I like to seem confident, but this, maybe not know everything, but definitely have a level of confidence in that I have somewhat of an understanding as to what is happening on the circuit most of the time. But this is one of those times where no matter how I try and rationalize it and explain it with logic, there's no conclusion I can come to that really solidifies what has actually happened here and why we are looking at this the way we're looking at it, because he's catching up to the back. So he's actually at the back of the pack.
Trav Daly, at the back of the pack. So there he is. He's down the back of the pack, but he is almost a full lap up at this point.
Does he know he's leading the race?
I mean, it would be telling him that, I'm sure, in his relatives on iRacing. I don't know. I just don't know what to make of this, and whether it was an oversight or whether he's this is what we're trying to work out, Brad. He's in first place at the back of the pack because there was here we go. Okay, I think this is going to solve it here, folks. What we're going to see is the entire field released to loop back around and get behind Trav Daly. That's what I'm expecting here.
And that's a good call from race control. I think
that's the best possible fix for this.
But Trav has to know that he's in first and cannot overtake the safety car, so that's going to be the next challenge.
Yeah, and look, the other part of this is just how much advantage has he potentially gained by getting past the safety car, going full noise around the circuit for a good 3/4 of a lap, coming in, doing his pit stop, getting back out, going full noise back around to the back of the group, still up on everyone that went in. This is what we think, folks, and again, without hearing race radio, I'm just speculating here. I believe there was a group of drivers that was released to go and take a second pit stop because the safety car may have been called just a little too late for them to actually get in to the pits in time. So there's the Chubby Buns safety car. Trav Daly is pulling up behind that, so we'll see the rest of the field, I am sure, momentarily come back around and jump on the back. But I think Trav Daly was part of that group, but didn't take the pit stop when he was first released.
Correct.
Continued around, and then, of course, was able to run full noise for almost an entire lap while the rest of the field was behind the safety car. Then, from the back of the pack, jumps in, does his pit stop, comes back out, and still about half a lap behind the back of the pack, goes full noise again, gets to the back, and now he's going to be back at the front. Race control will be working their butts off to try and figure out if there's any more correction needed here. I don't envy them trying to unravel this a bit. But if we do,
absolutely not.
If we do go back to it, I'm just trying to think of where we'd find this. This is the best spot. So we'll go back to here. This is going back a little way. The Chubby Buns replay. So Trav Daly passes a bunch of people who are in the pit bay there. You see there's a huge group of them. Continues on. Now, I don't think that was the group that was released
I think this
as
is
such.
no. I think this is before. This is when he still stopped. You can see there on the outside, David Logsdale still stops
Yeah.
on the berm. So I believe this was beforehand.
But then as he comes around here, that group there, or
They'll
going
drive in.
that's the group that
And he
I
stays out.
believe were released from behind the safety car to come in and make their second stop. Trav Daly stays out. Now, I don't quite know whether that was intentional, allowed. I don't know. I've got absolutely no way to explain how that ended up there.
We have been stumped.
The bit that I guess stands out to me is if we go back to, lap 11. I mean, he's passed, by my count, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. He's passed 14 or 15 drivers in amongst all of this. So
He's up 10 spots from where he started, so he's at least gained 10 spots out of all of this, I would say.
And how do you even begin to unpack which of those is a reasonable pass based on pit in and safety car and all that kind of thing, and which ones are additional positions that have been picked up? It's a really interesting one.
It's a huge headache.
Yeah, look, I don't know that we're going to be able to necessarily call the results anything other than provisional tonight until they potentially unravel a bit of this.
I think this is going to be a very long night for the stewards, and it's going to take maybe potentially a day or two for them to work out the results. So obviously we will have race results at the end of tonight, as we always do, but it very much will be provisional while the stewards try and get their head around exactly what happened here and who gained advantages, because you also think about the fact that Stephen Varga and Ken Latta overtook Jason Douglas and Andrew Rushworth. There was advantages made there as well with the release from behind the safety car for those guys to go and make their pit stop. So there is Dean Logsdale. They're finally all caught up, and everyone's back in a line again as Dean Logsdale finally catches up to a lone Trav Daly who was just behind the safety car all by himself. And we do have a corrected order in sense that Trav Daly is now back at the front of the field instead of at the back of the field when he's leading on our timing screens. But yes, this is going to be quite a mission for Race Control to try and work out exactly what has happened. The good news is, now that we're all back in order again, I don't think we're going to be too far away from going racing. It looks like the safety car is disappearing to the distance. We should have a restart this time by under the control of Trav Daly.
Yeah, it's it looks like this is where it's going to land for the moment. I'm still sitting here trying to figure out what happened and how Trav Daly has ended up at the front of this group. There's something here that we've missed, I'm sure, and that when I go back and look at the replay later, it'll be blindingly obvious, no doubt. But as it stands right now, I am super confused. If anyone does happen to be in the YouTube chat, you've got ears on Race Radio, and you can give us any kind of insight that we're missing. It would be greatly appreciated, but I don't know that there's anyone floating around who's not out on track right now. So I guess we'll see how it goes. We go green flag racing though in just a moment. Trav Daly will lead us away, and he gets off to a flyer, gets a bit of a jump on Logsdale and Wayne Walker. Stephen Varga gets caught napping, and away we go. Yeah, Brad, everyone pitted and he stayed out. Absolutely he did. The question is, how did he end up getting a lap up on everybody in the first place?
That is what we're scratching our heads over.
Because that piece there is the one that really raises some questions on how many positions he should be up for staying out. But in any case, we will carry on. We'll focus on the race at hand. 12 laps left. This is effectively going to be an all-out sprint. We've got all of these drivers having made their 2 compulsory pit stops, with the exception of Jason Bentz, surprisingly. So he is well down through the field, and indeed I don't expect that he'll feature anywhere in the top part of the field. I have no idea how Benz has ended up down in 35th either. So something's
He's not moving
gone.
either. He's stationary on the track. So something has happened for Jason Benz, because he's stranded. He's about halfway around the circuit, and
I think he's actually disconnected.
Not moving. So
He's actually
potentially
disconnected.
has. Yeah, which is very unfortunate, because he was running really well in this race. The other driver that's yet to stop is the other Jason Douglas. He's only served one stop. The good news about this safety car running for as long as it did is it's pretty much negated the pressure that I'm sure a lot of drivers were feeling in regards to tyres in this race. So someone like Dean Logsdale, Wayne Walker, they pitted lap 7, lap 11. They're going to ask a lot of the tyres towards the end of this race. This massive safety car period that we had means we've only got about 12 laps to go under green flag running conditions, so they don't have to ask a whole lot of their tyres before we get to the end. This is Todd Martin on our screen defending from Andrew Rushworth. He was fighting for the lead of the race at one stage, but that safety car's really shaken the order up, hasn't it? And it's put him back down in 20th place, so he has a lot of work to do to move forward. A black flag for Ken Latta. Not entirely sure what he's been given that for. Maybe there's some information from the stewards, Joe, that could shed light on what that black flag is.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll get that feed through in just a moment, but it does look like a pit lane penalty, so breach of pit lane rules, probably crossing the threshold of
The blend line.
pit bays just a little early. A little bit of contact there between. Is that Luke Orman getting caught up in it? It is indeed with Matt Vanderkran. There you go. There's the drive-through penalty. So that is. Oh, it's actually not a. Sorry, it's not a pit breach for incident on lap 5 with car number 44044, which is
Troy
Stone Street. So there's been something happen there that was significant enough to warrant a drive-through. Out in front, Dean Logsdale all over the back of Trav Daly now. Wayne Walker's coming with him. The gap behind has closed a little. Stephen Vargas starting to catch up to them, but Daly is under enormous pressure, and Dean Logsdale, looking to go around the outside, is going to have to be careful not to give that position up to Wayne Walker. He knows he can come back across and close the door pretty effectively on this right-hander, but it's cost him time, and he's dropped back off the rear bar of Trav Daly, so he's going to have another shot at this while defending from a hard-charging Wayne Walker, who all of a sudden finds himself back up towards the top of the field. Ken Latta comes in to serve his drive-through.
This is it's going to sting for Ken Latta, but he has to serve that drive-through. Obviously, he only has a limited amount of time. Wayne Walker on the lap before this had set the fastest lap of the race with 1:44.406, and that was about 0.03 of a second quicker than Dean Logsdale. So Wayne Walker, very much the fastest car on circuit at the moment. They're both sort of bottlenecked in behind Trav Daly, who's struggling for pace. His best lap of the race is a 1:44.8, and the last lap for him was 1:45.9. So he's a fair way off that number at the moment. Needs to try and get these tyres up to temperature and push on for lap time if he wants to try and hold on to the lead of this race. But again, Dean Logsdale's been struggling tonight to get the overtakes done. It's a difficult circuit to get overtakes done at. We mentioned that at the top of the broadcast, but we've seen it on display tonight as well. But Dean Logsdale seems to be one of those drivers that really just is struggling to get an overtake, get a move done at any point. Really good at defending his position, but just not able to capitalise on the extra pace that he has over a driver in front of him.
Yeah, and look, it was always going to be the challenge tonight, is trying to find a place to get the passing done. Unfortunately, the couple of safety cars really has taken away the ability for the undercut to be the way that some of these drivers might have been planning to pick up a spot or two here and there. That was probably going to be one of the best opportunities to pick up a spot or two and then just defend it rather than having to find an overtake on track. It is a very, very tough track to find a spot to overtake. It's possible. We've seen it done, but it usually is relying on a mistake from one of the drivers. Take a look at Listener in the background. For instance, just getting out into the marbles, that's cost him some pace, and he's lucky to hold on to that from Jason Dunn behind him. Further back in the field, we've got Verman Douglas and Ken Latta getting in amongst this as well. A 5-second penalty issued for car number 13, that's Craig Rose, currently in 31st.
Yes, that was for contact with car 28. 8. So I'm trying to find that's Dave Galley that he had contact with all the way back on lap 8. Being told by Brad in the chat the safety car picked up the wrong car is what we're being told. So that's what has caused the entire issue, is that the safety car picked up the wrong car, which was evident in that lead group that it did pick up in the end, who needed to get back around for their pit stop. So
It still doesn't
very
explain to me how
interesting
Daly ended up in
indeed,
front. That still doesn't explain that for me. And maybe I'm dumb.
Really interesting.
Look, that's not outside the realm of possibility that I'm just not interpreting this accurately.
There's definitely still something we're missing.
Yeah,
I think we need to. I think we need to get race control and have an interview with race control maybe to find out what really happened, to get to the bottom of it. Because I think there's something we'll never really know. Dean Logsdale is really having another go at the back of Trav Daly now. He dropped off a little bit, but he's closed up in this final sector, trying to make something happen for the lead of this race. He's desperate to put a car between himself and Wayne Walker, who is the fastest car on track. He's been the fastest car on track all day, got pole position, won race 1 fairly convincingly, and now through strategy and safety cars found himself right at the front of this field in 3rd place. And Dean Logsdale will not love the sight of the reigning champion, the current championship leader, in the rearview mirror. So he wants to desperately find a way past Trav Daly, but he's just been unable to do so far. It is super difficult to make an overtake stick around here. Wayne Walker looking as they run into Maggins and Beckett. He thought about it, thought better of it, and backed out. But he is showing the nose. He's making sure that Dean Logsdale is very aware that he is there. And I think Dean Logsdale is more than aware that Wayne Walker is right behind him.
We'll see a bit of a contest going on further back for some of the Cup Trophy drivers. Brad Hayes, Dave Galley, Rick Vigar and Lorne McKee all in amongst it, this battle for 21st further down the track. There's a nice little group of Cup Trophy drivers as well, sitting in behind Andrew Hoffman, currently in 12th. Not quite as compacted as the previous group, but it's all happening right throughout the field here. Jamie McKnight under some pressure as well from Phil Manuel, who is up 6 spots since the start. Craig Schulz a little bit further back, up 12. Out in front, though, Dean Logsdale looks as though he might almost have the pace here. He's going to find himself on the outside. Can't quite get there this time, and now he's got to just watch for Wayne Walker, who is going with him. But look at Logsdale. He's going to try and go around the outside here. Can he get back there in time? He's going to hang very, very close to that left edge to try and maintain that position. Can't quite get to it. It's cost him a little bit of time. It's cost Wayne Walker a little bit of time. And now all of a sudden, Stephen Varga, Matt Vanderkran, Luke Orman, Ryan Palmer right behind. They're starting to get into the mix here. We've got a very, very tight race on our hands for the podium.
We do. This race is going to go right down to the wire. We've got 8 laps to go on that cross the line, and it is far from over, ladies and gentlemen. Do not go anywhere here on Simple Racing Broadcast. This is round 5, Silverstone, and the legacy layout is providing the action here tonight. We've had plenty of drama in this second race, and none less than, I should say, Trav Daly finding his way to the front of this field through a series of, we'll call them mishaps, I guess, with the confusions or miscommunications with the safety car, and now leads this field. And Dean Logsdale late dive on the inside in the second phase of Maggins and Beckett. He makes contact. He's spun Trav Daly, and as a result is also off the road himself. Massive air as he runs over the service road, and that is a massive moment in this race. He went for the late move up the inside, and it just caused contact as he shut the door, did Trav Daly. And now at the inside, Matt Vanderkran looking for the move on Luke Orman, who now was in podium contention. They're side by side, running towards this really fast left-right flowing corner, and he has to back out of it. You cannot go side by side if you're here. But now it's Wayne Walker from Stephen Varga, from Luke Orman, Matt Vanderkran, Ryan Palmer and Jim Capronis all battling away. This has opened the door for Wayne Walker to run away with this, and opened the door for Luke Orman, Matt Vanderkran and Ryan Palmer to be in podium contention now. Up the inside from Ryan Palmer, there's a little bit of contact with Vanderkran. The elbows are out here at the end of this race, Jared Cole. They're throwing hands as we get to the end of this race. There is time running out. They're getting desperate.
Honestly, this is probably about 4 laps before I expected this to start to happen. It's been tight for quite a while after that safety car, but these guys, all of a sudden, someone lit a fuse somewhere, and really it's been the contact between Trav Daly and Dean Logsdale that has set it off. It's just ignited a spark, and this front group has come alive. It's going on further back in the field as well as we join the battle for 20th. Brad Hayes, Ken Latta, Dave Galley all right in it. Ken Latta's desperately trying to crawl back through the field after getting that drive-through penalty earlier on, and he's making good progress, but he finds himself all the way back in at 21st at the moment. Still plenty of work to do. This group, though, absolutely glued together. Just a couple of tenths between each car. No one able to separate themselves. Everyone just throwing moves left and right, just searching for the tiniest bit of weakness. You can see Latta closing right up behind Brad Hayes there, putting the pressure on. Keeps very, very tight to that apex. He's going to try and make a move here. Can he get over and under? I think Hayes is going to defend this just well enough. Latta's looking for a way past. He switches sides 2 or 3 times. He's trying to get that side draft happening. Pushes the air up and over that spoiler. They've come to blows here. Just a little bit of a panel rub. Lucky not to cause any more drama than that. There was quite a bit of heavy contact side to side there, but Brad Hayes unmoved and now gets a little bit loose. He tries to put the power down, but Ken Latta makes his way through. Behind them, Rick Feiger is side by side now with Dave Galley, and it's just going off everywhere at the moment.
It is going off left, right, and centre. You can tell we're getting towards the end of this race because it's all going out the window. Everyone was trying to just file in behind, running behind another driver, just to put the pressure on. And now it's gotten to the stage of the race where there's a little bit of desperation, a little bit of time is running out. Everything needs to happen sooner rather than later. For if you want to get positions, points are on offer, obviously, this evening, as always, and they want the maximum amount of points they can get themselves to come away with. Trav Daly is back down in 10th spot now after that contact, and Dean Logsdale has joined David Logsdale, and we've got both D Logsdales retiring from this race on the grass there for was that Listener?
It was on just going too wide on the exit
on the grass.
And gives up
a little bit of four-wheel drive
as a
action.
result. Well, yeah, look, it's not really the fastest line in any car, much less a Gen 3, but it was worth a shot. You've got to throw something out there. I don't think it was intentional from Listener somehow, but gives you an idea of just how hard these guys are pushing, and what they're starting to discover as we get into the last 5 laps of this race is just how much punishment those front and rear left tyres have taken. There's just no grip left to try that sort of a move, and you'll start to see it happen more and more, I suspect, over the next couple of laps, with drivers just sliding, understeering massively on the way through that final turn and ending up potentially in the grass each and every lap.
Yeah, this is going to be where the blowtorch starts to get applied. Mistakes will start to creep in as drivers push harder and harder. Law McKee trying to apply pressure to the back of Dave Galley. He's down in 24th position. The battle for the podium still rages on as well. Stephen Varga under a lot of pressure from Luke Orman at the front. We now cut to, this is Brad Grant and Jason Dunn. Jason Dunn tries to go around the outside. I think he's got that one done. And Andrew Rushworth's going to have a look at coming through as well on Brad Grant. Get another spot. So that's 2 spots in the space of a corner for Brad Grant. Now it's going to be Troy Stonestreet that invites himself to the party. He gets up the inside in the second phase of this penultimate corner. Can he get that move done? Runs him wide to try and run him out of road and force him to open the doors. A little bit of contact in the final corner. They're going to bang doors once again, and Andrew Listener sitting in behind as well. So it's all happening here. Positions are being lost, and as soon as one door opens, or someone opens the door, there's a bunch of other cars ready to invite themselves through. This is the move up the inside. Andrew Rushworth on Jason Dunn gets that move sorted up into 13th place. And we'll continue to push on now. The battle continues to rage on at the front as well. Wayne Walker's walking away with this, isn't he? Pun not necessarily intended, but Luke Orman is under pressure from Matt Vanderkraan and is trying to apply pressure to Stephen Varga. Ryan Palmer's dropped off the back of this group, potentially just trying to manage the tyres maybe at the back end of this race to make sure he has something left in the last few laps, or he could just be struggling for grip. We're getting to that stage now. The tyres are getting old, so drivers will begin to struggle. This is another battle. This is Brad Grant still defending from Andrew Lister and Todd Martin, so it's still going on here for Brad Grant. He is fighting tooth and nail at the moment to hold on to every single position, but it's hard out there for him.
It is, and what we really saw there, a huge number of moves going on, of course, but what you really see here is Silverstone, it's such a difficult place to get a pass done, but also if you do find yourself off the line, it's so hard to get back in there and defend you know, the door was open and Brad Grant all of a sudden loses 3 positions because he just cannot get back onto that racing lane, and it just costs you so much time, so much pace. We'll jump forward now because Luke Orman looks as though Matt Vanderkran's going to get there, and I think, he's just managed to hang in there. Only just.
Yeah. Something's happened to Andrew Listener. He's got a meatball flag, so there's been contact. I think we saw the first stage of that just before we did cut away, and there is Andrew Listener off the circuit. And I believe that is contact with Brad Grant that has resulted in that. So we'll get on the bell to our people in the media truck and see if they can source a replay of that for us, I'm sure. But that is not good for at all. I'm trying to find where he's gone now, Andrew Listener. I think he's trying to get back to the pit lane. But yeah, that is huge contact between those two and not ideal at all for Andrew Listener. Lost the front end of that car. Will this cause a safety car? He's still sitting out on circuit. I think he's trying to roll it back though, so he's moving again. Hopefully we avoid a safety car.
Yeah, we'll try and find exactly where that happened, because it was a little bit earlier than that even. And here is Andrew Listener with Brad Grant alongside. Just keep an eye on this. There's going to be some contact. There it is, just a barge and straight into the wall. Huge damage on the front end, unfortunately for Listener.
Massive damage.
Not much you can do.
No, he has got back to the pit lane though, so he will avoid a safety car. So well done for Andrew Lister for getting that back to the lane. That would not have been easy. Luke Orman, he's still defending from Matt Vanderkran, and the fact that he's trying to look backwards has really just left a bit of breathing room for Stephen Varga, a little bit of relief, I guess, in the final stages of this race, because Luke Orman's, I think, more concerned about Matt Vanderkran behind than he is about trying to get past Stephen Varga in front. Ryan Palmer starting to find a little bit of speed at the back end of this race, try and close in on this group in front. We could have a four-way battle for the podium very, very shortly. This is Rick Vigar, the teammate of Matt Vanderkran. He is putting pressure on Brad Hayes here. And they are really just trying everything they can to apply the blowtorch to the drivers in and around them. Goes for the overlap. Is he alongside? No, not at this stage. So 3 laps to go in this race, not long at all. Wayne Walker has disappeared into the distance, just really run away with this, hasn't he, ever since taking the lead of that race. And now there he goes. So Rick Vigar on Brad Hayes, and Dave Galley's going to invite himself into the party as well. He's been spun across the front bumper of Brad Hayes, and he's in the wall. That is heavy contact for Dave Galley. Tried to also find his way past, and as a result got turned across the front bumper. Brad Grant has received a drive-through for that contact with Andrew Lister, and you have to feel that potentially Brad Hayes could find himself in a similar situation with the stewards for that contact that we just saw with Dave Galley.
Yeah, that was a bit less than ideal, wasn't it? Vince Salvatore just checking in. Apparently had some connection issues and found himself kicked from the session. Looks like he's back in there, but that's a gut wrencher. So close to the end of this race, as we see the incident between Andrew Listener and car 89 being, where's he gone?
Brad Grant. He's on track. He's 17th on the road at the moment. There you go.
So yeah, look, there's always some late action going on. There's still plenty of battles, mind you, out on field. Wayne Walker's, as you said, walked away with it. Stephen Varga, Luke Orman, Matt Vanderkran battling it out for the rest of the podium. I'm just trying to see what happened there with Dave Galley as he came past. The Chubby Buns replay. Take a close look at this.
So there's Brad Hayes getting out of the way, Rick Vigar, and then just squeezes him for room, and just massive hit on the front end.
Bit too close, and unfortunately, high speed, high stakes wall right there. That will absolutely be the end of the night, realistically. Speed and concrete wall, not two things that go together, and friends of supercars. Let's face it, it's not going fast into concrete walls that hurts the cars. It's the sudden stop when you actually meet it.
So a wise man once said that. Yes, it's not the speed; it's the suddenly stopping that gets you.
tell you
But
what,
it's heavy damage on that
it has been a very, very eventful final third of this race. This has not played out anything like we predicted, not even remotely like we expected, as we see a drive-through penalty for car number 10. That is
Brad Hayes.
Brad
Dave
Hayes.
Galley also has a black flag.
Which could well be that
Game
could
given.
well be just incident points. Just the nature of iRacing ultimately is that you can pick up enough points that you'll find yourself with a black flag and a drive-through to serve as we enter the final lap. Wayne Walker 6.5 seconds out in front. This will decide the podium though. Varga, Orman and Van der Kraan. Who's it going to be? With only a lap to go, Orman's going to have to come up with something pretty special here to pick up second. Matt Van der Kraan will either throw one of the biggest moves you've seen all season, or he'll just sit in there and he will be content to pick up fourth position with a safe run home. And after what we've seen here tonight, I don't think that a safe finish is too low on the wish list for a lot of these drivers. I think just making it home is probably a pretty good... bit of contact there between Jamie McKnight and Jim Caparonis. They're still going for it, this battle for sixth.
It's still going on, isn't it? Jamie McKnight's going to have a look to the outside now. Heavy under braking through Stowe. There's a little bit more contact between these two. The elbows are well and truly out on the last lap of this race. I think Matty Morgan's got it down in the chat. He's asking, has someone put a sheep station up for grabs? There's contact between Andrew Rushworth and
James
I
Hardy.
believe that's James Hardy.
Yep.
And that sends him further down the field as well. And I think someone has put multiple sheep stations up for grabs because they're all going for it in the back of this pack, aren't they?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what has set this off, but I tell you what, it's made for a very, very interesting final 5 laps. Wayne Walker probably oblivious to all of the madness going on behind him, but he's probably seen enough and will be happy to come home with a fairly comfortable victory here as he rounds the final turn. He'll come across the line in first place and picks up the win there. The question will be who joins him on the podium, and it looks like it should fairly safely be Stephen Varga from Luke Allman and Matt Van der Kraan right behind him. Ryan Palmer's going to come home in 5th with Jim Caparonis holding off a fast finishing Jamie McKnight. Trav Daly and Phil Manuel in 8th and 9th respectively, and then a bit of a gap. There's still a battle going on here. Ken Ladder's going to try and pick up one final spot if he can. He's come alongside, he's got great pace. They're going to come all the way to the line, and I think Ladder's got it, just squeezes Andrew Rushworth 2,000th of a second in it. Another couple of close finishes here for Hardy, Boyce and Lorne McKee. There's still more though. Jace Douglas is trying everything as he comes around the outside. Can Craig Rose hold him off here? That'll be the question. This is going to be right down to the line. I think Rose has got the better drive out of the final corner. He should hold this. There's contact. Douglas gets pushed very, very wide. They come to the line and Rose holds on by 1,000th of a second.
Wow, it's so close to the end of that race. There's been multiple times tonight we've had such close finishes, and look at Wayne Walker. He's doing some 11s on the circuit. He certainly won himself a sheep station this evening, so he'll be very happy with that prize, I'm sure. But what an evening of action it has been, from lights to flag. There has been no shortage of confusion with that safety car period. We've had drivers really just pushing each other to the limit in the final stages of this race. It has been thrilling to watch, but Wayne Walker, at the end of it all, has come out on top after struggling early on in 11th, trying to get some overtakes done on Stephen Varga. He has found himself at the front of this field and just time and time again continues to perform and show why he has the number 1 on the window.
Yeah, another very, very successful round for Wayne Walker. We'll chat to him and a couple of the other drivers in just a moment. Let's take a look at the official results now. And Wayne Walker takes the win by almost 8 seconds in the end. It certainly wasn't as easy on track as it looks in those numbers, but once he got out in front, definitely made the most of it. Stephen Varga picks up second. Luke Allman will take 3rd spot on the podium, with Matt Van der Kraan coming home comfortably in 4th. Then Ryan Palmer on his own, would you believe, in 5th. Jim Caparonis and Jamie McKnight separated by about a half second in the end, actually a bit less than half a second. I'm not going to do the maths right now. Trav Daly in 8th, Phil Manuel in 9th, then Craig Schultz in 10th. Andrew Hoffman comes across in 11th ahead of Jason Dunn. and have a look at the gap between Ken Lauder and Andrew Rushworth. My maths isn't great, but I believe that's 0.016 of a second. So just shy of 2,000ths in the end, separating Lauder and Rushworth. Absolutely nothing in it at the line.
Wow.
Further back, Troy Stone Street in 15th, then Todd Martin, James Hardy finishes ahead of Glenn Boyce, then Lon McKee and Rick Vigar round out your top 20. We go further back through the field. Mick Clifton holds on to 21st ahead of Abel Verban. Again, only a few tenths of a second in that, rather. I'm trying to do the maths, I really am, folks. Scott Perrins comes home ahead of Ash Hall and Brad Grant. Then Craig Rose holds off Jason Douglas by 5,000th of a second. So absolutely nothing in that line. I think Rose might have even backed off just a little early there and almost handed away that position. Vargs joins us in the... No, he's out of the broadcast room. He's gone into the green room.
He's in, is it? Yep.
We'll grab him in just a moment. And we will continue on. Where were we? Jason Douglas almost picks up 26th. Mick Rudd and Brad Hayes behind them. Then Andrew Listener, the last driver to finish on the lead lap, and an absolute host of issues for a number of drivers here this evening. It was, well, what do you even make of this evening and how that's all finished up? I think in the end, it presented a whole range of some exciting battles, and you saw some very, very close finishes there in amongst it all. Let's have a chat to a few of the drivers here, shall we? And get their take on what has been a pretty spectacular and certainly very busy finish to the evening. We'll start off with third place on the podium, and we welcome to the booth Mr. Luke Orman. Luke, welcome on in.
Evening, guys.
Well, from our perspective, Luke, it was a very, very challenging evening for a whole bunch of reasons. How did it feel down on the track?
The track did feel pretty good. Once you started pushing a bit harder, the tyres started wearing off. It was a bit harder to turn, and then at the end I was just trying to keep Matt off. I was going to let him through at one stage, but then when I seen that there was only a couple of laps to go, I thought, no, I'll try to keep him behind me.
Mate, you're far too kind. Always a gentleman out there on track. I wouldn't give Matt Van der Kraan any room at all, but then, of course, the likelihood of Van der Kraan ever being behind me on track is only when I'm getting lapped, I reckon. So, mate, you've done a brilliant job to hold him off. It was hard going for a while there, and look, I think it almost sort of lit up a little bit when we saw Trav Daly and that contact that took him out of first place. Did it feel on track like the mood changed when that happened? Because from our perspective, it's like everything just kind of blew up a bit.
Yeah, it did blow up a bit when that happened, but it seemed after that incident it all calmed down a little bit, and then it separated us from Wayne, and then it was just trying to keep onto the back of Vargs and trying to keep Matt behind me.
Well, mate, in the end, a pretty solid result, and one that you can be fairly happy with. I think there's probably going to be a few questions just around what happened somewhere in there, and I'm certainly going to be keeping a close eye on the Discord to try and wrap my head around a few of the various moves and changes that happened throughout that race. But a totally different one to what I was expecting. A great result for you though, Luke. Congratulations. Before we do let you go, anyone you want to say hello to or give a shout out to?
Yeah, I just want to thank all the boys over at 2SimSim. They're a great group of fellas. You guys for the broadcast. I love watching the broadcast every week. And for Race Control and all the management that put it on for us folks to race.
Mate, thank you so much for dropping in to chat to us. I really do appreciate it. Luke Orman, congratulations on the podium in the feature tonight.
Thank you very much. See you guys.
So we'll leave Luke. We seem to have lost Stephen Varga from the green room. So if he does make his way back in there, we'll have another chat to him. So we might, in the meantime, bring in tonight's race winner. It is none other than Wayne Walker. Wayne, welcome back to the booth, mate. You'll have to excuse me. I'm still, let's call it reeling a little bit from what was a chaotic second half of race 2. How are you feeling?
Yeah, the safety car, that was a bit of a sort of stuff around there, and I think probably I was one that sort of gained from it, and there was others that moved back. So yeah, it's not the best way to sort of win the race, but yeah, you sort of got to take them when they come, sort of thing.
Well, mate, look, in the end, I'm pretty sure, and I'm taking a quick scroll through now, you were certainly fastest on track in terms of best lap, so we definitely know you've got the pace to be competing for the win anyhow. It's a tough track at the best of times, Silverstone. This historic layout, how did you find it looked after your tyres?
It's pretty hard on tyres. Because there's so many long sweeping corners, so many fast corners as well, you can't overdrive the car, otherwise you just burn the tyres out straight away. So yeah, you've sort of got to not brake as heavy as what you probably can, and same with throttle, getting on the throttle smoother, and yeah, not turning the steering wheel as much through corners either, and just trying to keep the tyres in a good range so that you can keep putting in good laps. But it's definitely not easy to do.
Well, mate, I think tonight is one of the nights where I don't think anything looked easy out on track for anyone this evening. There were some pretty intense battles going on. From your perspective, though, out in front, it probably looked like fairly smooth sailing once you got there. Were you keeping much of an eye on what was happening behind, or just concentrating on putting in the numbers at that point?
Sort of before the safety car and that, I was sort of caught up in the pack a little bit, and yeah, like it wasn't easy to pass, so I was sort of having to look in front, but also look in my mirror as well. Yeah, but sort of once I was in the lead, yeah, it was just look forward and concentrate on my own sort of race, my own, sort of, yeah, just not, like I said, consistent laps and not overheating the tyres was pretty much it once I got to the lead.
Well, mate, another great set of results for you this evening. No doubt will extend your overall championship lead even further. At the halfway point, you're looking like a hard man to stop once again this season. So looking forward to the remaining rounds of this season and seeing just where you do finish up. Wayne, before we let you go, as always, anyone you want to say hi to or give any of your sponsors a shout out before you go off and celebrate with the team?
Yeah, just everyone who helps run the league, race control, you guys for the broadcast. You just do an amazing job every week. All the other competitors, without them it's not possible either. The podium finishers, Stephen Varga and Luke Allman, yeah, they sort of capitalised on that as well. My team, Accelerate Sim Racing, yeah, it's a bit sort of, I think Andrew probably would have been further up towards the front if there hadn't have been that stuff around with the safety car, but yeah, I'm sure he'll come back next week. Yeah, and all of our sponsors, Abbey Timber, Prime Wheels, Box and Lock Narang and Modern Deck.
As always, Wayne, an absolute pleasure to chat to you, mate. Thank you so much for dropping on in and giving us your insights on the race tonight, and we'll let you go and catch up with the team and celebrate. Look, not the most traditional win for you, but certainly another set of points for your championship fight. Well done.
Yep, thank you.
Wayne Walker takes the win here in race number 2 this evening. And look, Isaac, I think there'll probably be a bit of change potentially from this over the next week or so. But we'll take a look at the points movement based on what we know and what we've seen here tonight. Wayne Walker looking, you've almost got to say unstoppable at this point. We're halfway through the season, bar him dropping out of the season or missing a couple of weeks. It's going to be so hard to catch him from here.
Absolutely, I see it as quite a difficult task because we're now past the halfway point of the season. We've got 5 rounds down, 5 to go, and his lead is quite large. Obviously, anything can happen. You never know, but the consistency he's shown week in, week out, and every single round really just goes to show why he has that number one and why he will most likely at the end of this season continue to have the number one. It's great to see Jim Capronis and Stephen Varga jumping up a couple spots in the championship. Ryan Palmer with a really good result tonight. He'll be disappointed that he missed out on the podium, but a top 5 result is something that he should be super proud of and super happy with, and I'm sure he will be, given the sort of on-off season, the difficult season he's had so far. He'll be glad to see a top 5 result next to his name. And another big mover as well is Trav Daly after that safety car stuff, the safety car incidents. I'm sure that'll be really heavily looked at by the stewards and delved into, and no doubt later in the week we'll find out more about what exactly went on in that safety car period and what the results of that is. But for now, he jumped up 5 spots in the championship, which he has to be happy with. A couple big losses as well. Mark Poynton obviously not racing tonight, he's lost a handful of spots. Jamie Dyke has lost some spots as well. Blake Warboys has lost quite a lot of spots as well. I don't believe he was racing this evening either, so he's losing a few spots, which is disappointing. But hopefully we see those guys back next week for a really good run, and I'm looking forward to next week as well. Jared Cole, I don't know about you, but it's just something about Sebring and supercars that gets me very, very excited.
You and I have very, very different opinions on Sebring as a track, my friend. It is... Look, I despise Sebring because, and that's from a driver's perspective. Something about Sebring just never sits right with me, and these guys are going to be really, really challenged to keep a supercar pointed the correct way around Sebring. It's just one of those track surfaces that, at the best of times, is like an ice rink, and you put 600 horsepower supercars with no traction control, locked rear diffs, no ABS. It's a good thing that the drivers we have in this league are so incredibly skilled and can stay on top of these things, because it would be in anyone else's hands a bit of a disaster, I'm sure. Definitely looking forward to it. We've got plenty more action coming still this week. Of course, the MC Motorsport GT3 Championship continues tomorrow night right here on Simple Racing Broadcast. But for tonight, that will bring us to the end of this coverage of the Alliance Sim Racing Gard Supercar Championship. A massive thank you to our major sponsor, Gard, of course, for making this all possible. Chubby Buns Burgers, the safety car tonight, getting probably the most lapped in that it has so far this season. So good to see Tim Nicol actually getting to be behind the wheel for a little while for a change, although I suspect it's not something he'll want to repeat too often. But great support from them, and of course always the regular sponsors: Quantum Tint Solutions, West Automotive, 24/7 sim services for race control, and of course Tim Nicol Photography. Makes me wonder if maybe he's behind the wheel, one hand on the wheel and another with the camera in hand, taking some amazing shots of these cars out on track. If you are interested in getting involved with this series, of course, do make sure you check in the description down below. You'll be able to get in touch with the guys and register your interest for Season 8, which will be on us in no time at all. Until next time, do look after yourselves. Isaac Fogarty, a great pleasure to have you back in the booth once again, and we'll get you back in again next week, hey?
Yeah, sounds good. Looking forward to being back in the booth. It's been a great season so far, so really enjoying being on board, and a huge thank you to yourself and all the team at Simple for having me on board, because it's been a blast.
If you're watching at home and you haven't already, make sure you give us a thumbs up on the video. If you enjoyed tonight's relentless action, do make sure you hit that subscribe button so you keep in touch with all of the racing action that's yet to come. And most importantly, take care of yourselves and each other. Until next time, I'm Jared Cole. On behalf of Isaac Fogarty and everyone at the Simple Racing Broadcast team, it is goodbye for now.